Welcome to the Through the Lens of Learning podcast. If we haven't met, hello, I'm your host, Dr. Tracy Schroyer. I'll give you 2 words that summarize me to a T: lifelong learner. Join me as I share a bit about my own journey of curiosity, learning, and wonder. You'll also get to hear from some phenomenal individuals on what they're curious about learning and what they have to share too. Are you itching with excitement yet? I am, so let's get started. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Through the Lens of Learning podcast. And on this episode, I am joined by the amazing Ellie Hoekman. So Ellie, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate being here and for the invitation. I'm so excited.
Yes, definitely. Just a little side note, Ellie is a former student of mine, an amazing student. And I think, Ellie, when I first had you as a student, it was the taco work. I always remembered you as the taco girl for me.
Right. Yes. I was working at Taco Time Northwest, which is a restaurant company at the time.
Okay.
I work at a healthcare company now, but okay. I was working at Taco Time at the time. So yes, I was Taco girl. Yeah.
She did great presentations, everything like that. Yeah. So Ellie has in addition to her full-time job, she's ventured out into her own business and focuses more on career and career coaching and support like that. So we'll get to that here in just a moment. But Ellie, one of the first things that I ask all of my guests are how you define learning. So would you share that with us?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I think that for me, learning and growth go hand in hand. So when I have learned, I've grown. And when I've grown, it's because I've learned. And what I've noticed in my life, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is that whenever I've played small, I just haven't enjoyed life the same way. Because when I play small is when I stop learning, I stop trying new things, and thus stop growing. And I've found that I'm the most happy when I get to implement something that I've learned. So for example, if I read a really great book and it teaches me a great lesson and then I go and implement that the next day, wow, does that feel good? And then I grow from that too. So I would say that anytime I'm growing, I'm learning, and anytime I'm learning, I'm growing. So that's kind of how I equate it in my mind.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. I love hearing all the different perspectives of what learning is.
Yeah.
So Ellie, what we do is typically I walk through, I know my guests have several different learning journeys that they go through in their life, whether it's traditional, non-traditional, sometimes it blends from one to the other. Yeah. So just wanted to kind of open it up and see where you want to start.
Sure. Yeah, so my learning journey is super interesting, and I'll try my best to keep it short and not go into all of the details. But of course, it started with formal learning, high school, college. I went to a 4-year university, graduated a little early. It started working, and I was going to go to grad school. My plan was since I graduated a semester early, I was going to work full time until grad school started. And then when grad school started, I was going to work part-time and go to grad school. And so the role that I got right out of college was a role that I was only planning on being in kind of temporarily, right? And so then I applied to grad school. I took the $200 that I had in my bank account, which was all that I had in my bank account, and I applied to one grad school because I could not apply to tons of grad schools because, again, I only had that money in my bank account. Now, I was silly in that I thought that my 3.98 GPA and my experience as a vice president of my sorority and being really active in the community at college would be a no-brainer for a grad school, right? They would totally accept me. Why would I be even worried about that? And then, surprise, surprise, they did not select me. And I was like, wow, okay. So that totally turns around my plan. So this wasn't Bellevue University, obviously. This was, it was actually the rival school to the school that I went to for college, funnily enough. And so then when I was not accepted, I thought, well, okay, time to get moving. It's time to start my career, I guess. And very fortunately, there was a position open at the company I was working at, but in their HR department. And I decided, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I'll try it. So I got it. And that was a recruiting role. And that was where I went from like a formal learner to a complete like powerhouse learner, because I had to essentially just like take that job by the reins and learn everything that I possibly could. And I'm so thankful I had two incredible mentors who taught me everything I know today about recruiting. Honestly, they were incredible. They were so talented at what they did, and they had such an amazing way of teaching me and guiding me. And so I'm so grateful for that experience. And then I went back to academic learning, and that's where I met you. Was when I went to BU and got my master's degree in organizational psychology, and that was awesome to get that formal learning again. And I was also I started a new role. Like I said, I'm in healthcare now. I do data analytics in healthcare, but still on the HR side. And then I learned a lot in that role too. But now I'm, again, just diving in deep and being an entrepreneur, and learning how to be an entrepreneur is so interesting, because you learn sales, you learn marketing, you learn obviously coaching if you're a coach, which I am. So I'm learning coaching. You learn, finance and taxes and all of those things. And so it's a huge learning journey. But again, like I said, I am the happiest when I get to implement and grow. And so I found so much happiness from starting this business. And not only, of course, working with my clients, that provides me so much fulfillment, but just, trying new things and becoming this entrepreneur and this CEO that I knew I could be. So that's an overview of my learning journey without all of the interesting,
No,
but that's an overview.
that is great. That is great.
Yeah.
And one thing I can say I have seen from you too, since you've started your entrepreneur journey, because it hasn't really been too long, I don't think.
No, it has not.
Is I've seen your growth just in your posts and what you're putting out there and what you're speaking to and what you're helping others. I even saw you disagreeing with somebody, very nice about it, and say, you disagreed with their point of view and gave the facts and everything like that. But even I'm seeing you pop up now. I think it's Instagram, maybe, popping up with your different videos, trying something new. So just having the courage to put yourself out there. So in becoming an entrepreneur, can you just share, like, what are you doing and what led you to do that?
Absolutely. I'd love to. This is my favorite thing to talk about. So my entrepreneurial journey started at 3 a.m. on an October night, where I had just woken up and I just had this thought of, I don't think that corporate is for me. I don't think that I can achieve all that I want to achieve within the bandwidth, or within the confines of a corporate world. I think I really desire freedom. And with freedom, you have to have a ton of discipline. Luckily, I've grown quite a bit of discipline over the years. I was a gymnast growing up, and that meant 20 hours of training per week as a 9, 10, 11-year-old. And so I learned discipline a lot through there. So I knew that I didn't need necessarily an external control to keep me working. I knew that I wanted to work. And so I had this thought when it was 3 a.m, and I was thinking about a conversation that I had had with a colleague where we essentially were daydreaming about what we would do if we had unlimited cash. And my response was that I would go to high schools and I would go to colleges and I would teach people how to interview, because that has been where I've found the most fulfillment from helping others. It's something that I think I learned, of course, in recruiting, but also kind of know intuitively, and also learned a lot from my mom. I have to give her benefit, or credit where credit's due. She taught me so much of what I know. And I just wanted to share that with the world. And so then I just was laying there, I was staring at the ceiling, and I was like, well, what if, I don't have unlimited cash, but what if I actually made money off of that? And I just followed my passion and went for it. And so in bed at 3 a.m, I grabbed my phone, I started Googling, what does it look like to become a career coach? What do you need to become a career coach? How much finances, how much time? And I found that it's totally doable. And so I decided to go for it. And I'm so glad I did. I don't regret it for even a single second. So that's how it started. And then in terms of growth and what I'm doing now, I've actually recently, I know you saw this post because you commented on it, recently hired a business coach, which has been just an incredible experience. I cannot just speak highly enough about her as a coach, but also just the experience of having a coach, of having someone I can bounce ideas off of. And somebody who knows more than I do. I had to drop my ego to work with her because before I was very, very confident in what I was doing. And I felt like I was doing the right things. But then when I started working with her, I realized she actually has the expertise. And what's funny is she's actually younger than I am. And I feel pretty young sometimes as a business owner. But she's younger than I am. And she knows so much. And her delivery is excellent. And so, I've loved working with her. That has, again, just launched my growth and, of course, my learning tenfold since starting work with her. And so that's where I'm at right now, and working on getting some more clients in the books and helping some more people.
Love it. Love it. So Ellie, what kind of services do you provide? Is it all one-on-one helping with the interview skills or?
Yeah. So right now my main offers are focused one-on-one. In my one-on-one programs, we have one-on-one weekly meetings where we talk over Zoom, or if they're in my area, we can do in person, but most of the time we do over Zoom. And that's weekly one-on-one sessions. But then I also have just online trainings so that we can spend those sessions really focused on them rather than focused on what I can teach them. So I like to teach them kind of outside just with videos, and then we can focus on implementation in our one-on-one calls. So that's a big portion of it as well. And then we have we can chat and message on the side. But yeah, right now I primarily do one-on-one work. And, maybe sometime in the future I'll start a group program, but right now I'm just getting really focused on helping individuals and transforming lives one at a time.
I love it. I love it. So one of the things I get from working full time and having my business on the side is how the heck do you manage your time? So, and especially being very, very new and starting to put things out there, I want to put that question to you. How do you manage your time and how do you balance what you're doing where?
Absolutely. I love my boyfriend so much, but I'm married to my calendar. And yeah, I mean, I'm on that guy all day, every day on the calendar, that is. I'm on it all day, every day, moving things around, adjusting things. And I have this funny thing about me where I have an excellent memory. I say that I have an elephant brain because I remember lots of things. But I have this funny phenomenon where I think that I'm not going to remember anything at all. And so if there's something I know I'm going to need to remember, I write it down or I put it on the calendar. And so those two things have just helped me a lot, is just having this mindset that I'm never going to remember everything. So I better write it down and better schedule it. And just being tied to that calendar. And then also, of course, I have to book in rest time. So it's interesting. I never thought that. I was like, well, if you book in rest time, are you really resting or are you forcing yourself to rest? But I've noticed that with full-time entrepreneurship, full-time work, you have to do that. Otherwise, your body will rest for you, and it will rest at a time where you're not ready for it and cause a little bit more chaos. Again, something my mom taught me. Shout out, Mom. But yeah, so just being really tied to that calendar and then scheduling that rest time.
Yeah. That's so true that if you don't do it, your body will, and it'll definitely wreak havoc. You'll be sick or anything like that at the time that you don't want that to happen, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in using your calendar, and have you had requests come in where you've had to say no? Like some people think I say yes to everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you would not imagine the number of things I say no to.
Yeah.
And some of them are really, really hard. But have you had to say no, and how do you work through that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's something I've learned so much in the last year is setting that. I kind of think of, when I think of setting boundaries, I think of saying no. And setting boundaries has been just critical because I need to say no to certain things to say yes to more aligned things. And so what's funny is my first prospect, my first potential client, I actually said no to, which is insane because when you're first a business owner and you get a client, you're like, of course, I'll do anything I can for you.
Right.
But through what I've learned, I knew that I would not be the best coach for this person. I knew that what she really needed was resume assistance, which I can help a little bit, but I'm not a resume writer. I'm more focused on interviewing and career confidence. But what she really needed was some resume assistance. And so I had actually said no to my first potential client. She was ready to pay me. And I had said, I'm sorry. I think you're awesome. And I think if after you get this resume help, you want some interview coaching, you can come back to me. But so I referred her to a resume writer. And some people will call me crazy for that, but I think it was the right thing to do.
But you build the trust with that person, and the likelihood that is that she'll come back and she'll get the help she needs because you know that you're focused, it's aligned for you. Yeah, definitely. So what are you finding from the people that you're starting to talk to, from maybe the different articles or research that you've looked at? What are the biggest blockers for people in having confidence in their career?
Yeah. I think it's mostly a lack of clarity. So there's so much advice and learning that can be done online, especially in social spaces. So I think of LinkedIn, where there's tons and tons of posts about inspiration and things that you can do to increase your confidence and things that you can do to work with your boss better. And I mean, I'm even a part of it too. That's part of what I post. I post that advice. I post those tips. But what happens is when you inundate yourself with all of these tips, you have a hard time figuring out what works and what doesn't. And you have these posts that just kind of circulate in your mind, and you want to trust them because you think these people have the expertise. But then there's someone else with expertise who says the opposite. And so you have to kind of balance everything that you're thinking about. And so that's one thing that coaching makes a huge difference, is because you get to unfold all that you've learned from these online sources, from your parents, from your friends, from your connections, and all this advice people are telling you, and you get to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And that coaches just provide so much clarity, I find, in that. I have a client that I'm working with right now, and I can hear her. She's thinking out loud. I can hear her, she's like, I read this article and it said this, and then I saw this post that said that. And she's like, I just don't know what to do. And so we worked through that, and we talked through, and I said, what feels good to you? What resonates with you? What do you want to do? And what do you not want to do? And so I find that the clarity is really what people need, and what they start doing when they're consuming all this content is they're starting to overthink. And so they just need to slow down. And oftentimes the best way you can do that is through talking with somebody who has your best interests in mind, and also has that expertise. So, for example, you can talk to your parents, who of course have your best interest in mind, but they might not have the same market experience or expertise to really guide you in the right direction. So yeah, I would say that that's it. Lack of clarity.
Yeah. And I feel like some people are trying to they think it's a cookie cutter answer too. And I think even in one of your responses, you talked about how your coaching it's not the same for everybody. You have to customize it for people. So that goes very much hand in hand with that, for sure.
And I even said in that comment too, I was like, if I had a cookie cutter strategy, my job would be so easy, and I probably wouldn't even like it. It'd be too easy.
Right. You'd be working on the factory.
One strategy for everyone, then I'd sell an online course in that, if I was confident it would work. But that's why I'm a one-on-one coach, is because I know that strategies aren't cookie cutter and that they have to be customized. And that's why I work one-on-one with people, because, that's how you actually can see a transformation and a change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you had to give one tip to people, so let's say everybody isn't able to hire you, or maybe they're not ready to start interviewing or applying
Mm,
for jobs, one tip related to interviewing, what might
okay.
that tip be?
I've been thinking about this because I think I'm going to make a post about this.
And I didn't
And
even give her questions ahead of time. Like it was the one or two questions, right?
yeah,
And we said we're just gonna be open with it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, my one piece of advice and would be, and I think back to when I was getting a job right out of college after getting my degree, my bachelor's degree. Negotiate. Just try it. Just try it. Because what happens is when you negotiate your very first offer, because your salary will go on a slope, right? And if you can start that slope a little bit higher, it's just going to be like it's just has exponential, growth after that. And so if you can start higher, it'll be better over time. So
That is golden. And
yeah.
I wish I would have heard that a long, long time ago because I even throughout all of my roles in my career, I didn't negotiate and didn't think I could. And
Mhm.
then I actually did, within the last couple of years, I did. They told
Yeah.
me I couldn't, and they gave me the reason why and what was in place and everything like that. But
Mhm.
I felt good and I felt more
Yeah.
confident because I knew I was worth a lot
Mhm.
and just being able to voice that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's huge. And I think a big reason people don't negotiate is because they're nervous with two things. One, they're nervous that they'll rescind the offer and they'll be like, well, okay, well, clearly you're not excited about this role. So let's move on. That doesn't really happen. But number two is they're afraid of how it will look. It will make them look as though they're not as gung ho about the job and the company itself, but rather they're just trying to get that paycheck. Um, but that's not true at all. It's all about just advocating for what you're worth and trying to do the best that you can for yourself.
Yeah. So how do people negotiate? So this is an interesting question from like the flip side of the table, me being a manager hiring people. I have had some people try to negotiate and they ask for like way out of the box, like there's no way we can provide you that. Like, is there a rule of thumb to say like a percentage higher or
Mm,
anything
mm.
that people could even think about when it
Yeah,
comes to that?
I think it just kind of depends on, of course, like the offer that you get. If you get a stunning offer, then maybe just try for a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then if you don't get it, it's fine. But if you get a really low ball, then yeah, try for higher. I think that one thing I would just say is that no matter what you do not use be all end all language. And what I mean by that is don't say 100K or I walk. Or,
Right.
I'm not accepting anything less than blank. Because, there could be another candidate who is just as good as you who will take the role for 40K less than you would. And they're just going to go with that person instead. But if they've selected you for the role, it's because they want you. And so try, but don't use be all end all language. I say that a lot.
I like that. I
And
like
be
that.
thankful,
Yes.
be respectful, be gracious of the opportunity that they're giving you.
Yeah.
Um, and just be be a nice person.
So is that in addition to helping to coach somebody to prep for the interview and maybe even kind of a retrospective afterwards, is you help with that negotiation piece too of giving
Yeah,
them some coaching
absolutely.
on that?
So I call my business, it's an interview and early career success coaching. And by early career, I mean typically folks who are starting their career right after college. I also mean in the beginning stages of starting a new job, starting that impression and things like that. So what I do with my clients is, if they get an offer, we can definitely walk through negotiation steps together. And then hopefully if we're still within our coaching term, we can also start working through, okay, what's day one going to look like? And what are you going to do on day one within your first week and within your first month to start standing out so that you can be eligible for maybe the best raise that you can get, at your merit increase, or if you want a promotion, if you know that, there's a job above this role? How can we start putting things in place so that you're ready for promotion when that time comes? I really love that transition period. I find that really fun, where you go from candidate to employee. And there's so many things that you can do. And I think sometimes people just, they get really excited and they start celebrating, and then they get comfortable and they start their job and they feel good. But there's so many things that you can do between offer and, the end of your first month to really stand out as a star employee. So I love that too.
It's such a critical time. Like the interview, you're seeing maybe a couple people, but when you are in that role, you are working with business partners, you're working with other leaders, like your team, all of that kind of good stuff. So that is critical for those impressions for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Ellie, we are going to wrap up here in just a minute or two. I wanted to give you an opportunity if there's anything else that maybe we haven't covered that you wanted to touch on before we kind of wrap up.
I think I want to go back to, I mentioned it before, but dropping your ego. Just dropping your ego in order to be open to learning is something that I'm working on a lot right now. I'm a very confident person, I think, and maybe sometimes even overly confident. And I also have a very, dream goal-oriented mindset where I'll see the potential in something and I'll just, I'll want to see it through. And sometimes I need to just come back down to reality and see where I am now and know that I'll get there, and I'll get there even quicker if I drop my ego and learn the right way. So I'll just mention that again because I think it's a really helpful tip.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. All right, Ellie, this has been awesome. I'm sure we could talk for hours just about it. Everything, careers, interview, confidence, all of that. But Ellie, if people want to follow you or connect with you to learn about your services, where do you recommend that they do that?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking. My tag is Interview Coach Ellie. So Interview Coach Ellie. And I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram primarily. That's where you can learn more about me and get connected with me. My website is rockandsecure.com. So that's my actual business name. It's Rock and Secure, which is rock your interviews, secure job offers. I think it's kind of cute.
Yeah.
And that's where you can learn way more about me. You can learn more about my services. You can get in touch with me there. And then I'm on TikTok as well at Interview Coach Ellie, but I don't do a lot of interview coach advice. That's just if you really like me and you want to get to know me a little bit more and see me play some ultimate frisbee. That's cool. Where you can see that over on TikTok. But primarily for my business, I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Okay. All right. And we'll tag those. I'll put those in the description too. Yes. Thank you again for coming out. I appreciate you. And thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks.
This podcast is brought to you by Tracy Schroyer, PhD, LLC. Learn more about what Dr. Tracy offers at www.tracyshroyerphd.com. While you're there, sign up for the free 5 steps to build a solid professional development plan. Don't forget to subscribe and like the Through the Lens of Learning podcast here too. Thanks again for listening, and have a great day.